manager of some of the smartest people on earth, like how do you develop challenging but attainable goals for your employees?
That's a very, very good question. And I think that having an employee succeed really starts with setting good goals for them. So at Microsoft, we'd like to follow this principle of SMART, where goals are specific, measurable, attainable, results oriented, and time specific. In considering a goal for an employee, I look at, well, what is that employee going to be doing? What is that employee's value to the business? I combine that with what is their previous experience? How can they leverage their existing skills, as well as how can they build new skills that will carry them into the future? When you take those factors together, when you consider the needs of your business, the experience and needs of your employee, one can typically set up goals that are both challenging and attainable, in that you're challenging an employee to learn something new. Maybe you're giving them deadlines that they're not used to. Maybe you're exposing them to new experiences like cross-group work. Maybe you're exposing them to a greater or broader level of design, while at the same time making sure that there is, especially for those employees that maybe lack some experience, that there is a safety net. You check in with your employee, you provide them mentoring, you provide them leadership, and you set them up for success.
As an experienced manager, what are your most effective methods of rewarding and recognizing your employees?
Well, so rewarding and recognizing an employee actually starts with understanding what that employee is motivated by. Some people, they're motivated by cold hard cash. Other people may be motivated by title. Here at Microsoft, we've recently moved to differentiating titles in the address book. So you're no longer just a software design engineer. We actually indicate whether you're software design engineer 1, 2, senior, principal, and so on and so forth. And to some people, they really care what title they have more so than the level. Some others care about recognition. So public recognition, maybe private. The most important thing to me, especially when I start working with an employee, but also on a continual basis, because people definitely change, is to really understand what is that employee motivated by, and to tailor the reward to the needs, I should say, of that particular individual. And again, one more thing to consider when rewarding employees is going back to their challenging and attainable goals. If they don't have challenging goals, you can hardly reward an employee. Obviously, if they haven't attained the goal, it's hard to recognize their work, or it's hard to put it in a positive light. So my reward/recognition philosophy is really tied to not only recognizing folks when they've done a good job, but making sure that they have opportunities to do so. And that starts with those challenging and attainable. This is really a two-part question. First part is about managing and rewarding, and second part is really making use of the abilities of the individuals on the team to get the most out of them. Let me address the second part first. The idea of getting most out of each team member starts with the manager. The manager has to know what each individual team member brings to the table, what their strengths are, and what their weaknesses are. Depending on those strengths and weaknesses, the manager's duty, obligation, is to set up challenging and attainable goals for that employee that will help them harness their strengths and develop their weaknesses. As far as evaluation and management, one thing that I've learned, one thing that Microsoft has really stressed in any type of manager training that we all go to here is give prompt and effective feedback. No employee should be really surprised by the annual review. Meaning, if they haven't been doing so well, it shouldn't be a big surprise. If they haven't met expectations on a certain task, they should know that beforehand. And it really starts, to me, with weekly one-on-one meetings. And those one-on-one meetings, a lot of managers might tend to use them as status. What did you do? How are you doing on such and such task? But to me, the one-on-one meetings are really about how the employee is doing, what concerns they have. It's an opportunity for the employee to provide feedback, but it's also an opportunity for me to provide feedback to the employee on how they're doing. And that, when there's negative feedback, if we address that as early as possible, it lets corrective action be taken much, much earlier than if we had addressed it